First contact. Admiral Zexera stood at the command center of the Nexarian defense platform, her four eyes fixed on the holographic display before her. The massive structure, pride of the Nexarian collective, housed the most advanced sensor array in known space. It had never failed to detect and classify any object entering their system, until today. "Report," she commanded, her secondary vocal cords vibrating with tension. Senior Sensor Officer Krelth's appendages trembled as he manipulated the controls. "Admiral, the object appeared at the edge of our detection range 3 minutes ago. It's moving at speeds we previously thought impossible." The holographic display showed a single point of light, moving with purposeful precision toward the heart of their system. No radiation signature, no conventional engine emissions, just pure, impossible speed. "Classification," Zexera demanded, though she already suspected the answer. "Unknown, Admiral. Our systems can't match it to any known configuration." "But," Krelth hesitated, his skin shifting to a pale shade of anxiety. "The size and mass readings suggest it's artificial. A ship." Zexera felt her primary heart skip a beat. In 3 centuries of service, she had never encountered something their sensors couldn't classify. The Nexarian collective prided itself on having the most advanced technology in the known galaxy. Their sensor systems could detect and analyze ships from every known spacefaring race. "Show me the approach vector," she ordered. The holographic display expanded, revealing the object's trajectory. It cut through space like a blade, maintaining a perfect course that would bring it directly to their homeworld. No natural phenomenon moved with such precision. "Admiral," Communications Officer Yenli interrupted, her voice tight with concern. "We're detecting no standard communication signals from the vessel. No identification broadcasts, no response to our hailing frequencies." Zexera's secondary hearts began beating faster. Protocol demanded she alert the High Council, but pride made her hesitate. How could she explain that an unknown vessel had simply appeared in their space, moving faster than their fastest ships, immune to their most sophisticated detection systems? The silence in the command center was broken by a sudden alarm. Krelth's appendages flew over his console. "Admiral, the object, it's accelerating." The point of light on the display surged forward, crossing vast distances in seconds. Zexera watched in disbelief as the vessel covered space that should have taken hours to traverse in mere minutes. "All defense platforms to alert status," she commanded, her voice steady despite the fear growing in her chest. "Activate the planetary shield grid. Signal the home fleet to assume defensive formation Alpha 7. As her orders were relayed, Zexera studied the approaching vessel. Its speed defied everything she knew about physics. Even their most advanced theoretical drives couldn't achieve such velocity while maintaining precise control. "Admiral," Tactical Officer Vexnor spoke up, his young voice carrying a note of realization. "I've been analyzing the vessel's movement patterns. They match no known species' flight characteristics, but there are rumors." "Speak freely, Officer," Zexera encouraged, keeping her eyes on the display. "The speed, the precision, the complete lack of conventional emissions." Vexnor swallowed hard. They matched the descriptions from the outer colonies, the stories about humans. The command center fell silent. Humans, the mysterious species that had emerged from their isolated sector of space just decades ago. Most dismissed the stories about them as exaggerations or propaganda. Tales of ships that moved like ghosts through space, technology that seemed to ignore the laws of physics, and a species that had mastered warfare in ways that terrified even the most hardened veterans. "Humans are a myth," Krelth scoffed, but his voice lacked conviction. "Stories to frighten young ones. Myths don't appear on our sensors," Zexera countered, her mind racing. If this truly was a human vessel, everything she thought she knew about warfare and technology needed to be reevaluated. How long until it reaches defense platform range? "At current speed," Krelth's voice faltered. 7 minutes, Admiral. 7 minutes. In 7 minutes, they would either make first contact with a species of legend or face a threat unlike anything in their history. Zexra straightened her spine, all 4 eyes focused on the approaching point of light. "Send a priority alert to the High Council," she commanded, "and get me everything we have on human encounters. Every report, every rumor, every children's tale. If we're about to meet the bogeyman of space, I want to know everything." The command center erupted into activity, but Zexra barely noticed. Her attention remained fixed on the vessel that moved like nothing she had ever seen. In all her years of service, she had never felt so small, so primitive. Whatever was approaching their world, it represented technology so advanced it might as well be magic, and it would reach them in 7 minutes. The chase, the 7 minutes passed like an eternity. Admiral Zexra watched as the defense platforms powered up their shields, their massive energy arrays humming to life. The home fleet had formed a perfect defensive sphere around their homeworld, 200 ships strong. It should have been reassuring. Instead, she felt exposed. 5,000 kilometers to defense range, Krelth announced, his voice tight. The unknown vessel, the human ship, Zexra corrected herself mentally, had maintained its impossible speed. Their sensors still struggled to get a clear reading, as if the ship existed in a state of quantum uncertainty, simultaneously there and not there. "Admiral," Vexnor called out, excitement breaking through his professional demeanor. "I found something in the archives. A report from a deep space research vessel, dated 3 cycles ago." "Show me," Zexra ordered. The young tactical officer's appendages danced over his console, bringing up an old sensor log. The research vessel detected something similar. A ship moving at impossible speeds. They managed to capture this image before it disappeared. The holographic display shifted, showing a grainy image that made Zexra's heart skip. The vessel was sleek, black as the void itself, with no visible engine ports or weapon systems. It looked less like a ship and more like a hole in space, a predator adapted to the darkness between stars. "That's not the most interesting part," Vexnor continued. "According to the log, the human ship was pursuing something. A Drachnid warship, specifically." Zexra felt her skin ripple with shock. The Drachnid were infamous raiders, their ships among the fastest in known space. What happened? "The research vessel lost track of both ships," Vexnor explained. "But 3 days later, the Drachnid ship was found. Or rather, pieces of it were found." Before Zexra could respond, Krauth's voice cut through the command center. "Contact. The vessel has entered defense platform range." All eyes turned to the main display. The point of light that represented the human ship had finally resolved into a clear image. It was identical to the one from the research vessel's logs, a black shape that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. "Multiple defense platforms acquiring target lock," the weapons officer reported. "Awaiting your command, Admiral." Zexra hesitated. Their defense platforms carried enough firepower to vaporize small moons, but something told her that wouldn't be enough. Not against this. "Hold fire," she ordered. "Maintain target lock, but do not engage unless." The human ship moved. One moment it was holding position at the edge of their defense network. The next, it was between 2 platforms, then past them, then through the first line of the home fleet. There was no acceleration, no visible propulsion. It simply changed positions. "Impossible," Krelth shouted. "Nothing can move like that. It violates every law of physics we know." "That's rather the point, isn't it?" Vexnor muttered, his young voice filled with a mix of terror and awe. "They're not bound by the laws we know." The command center erupted into chaos as the human vessel danced through their defenses. It moved like water flowing through cracks, finding gaps in their formation that shouldn't have existed. Each movement was precise, deliberate, almost elegant in its efficiency. "Admiral," Communications Officer Yenli called out, "the High Council is demanding an update. They want to know why we haven't engaged the intruder." Zexra watched as the human ship continued its impossible dance. "Because we can't," she replied simply. "Look at it. Really look. It's not trying to break through our defenses. It's showing us it doesn't need to." As if to emphasize her point, the human vessel suddenly appeared in the heart of their formation, surrounded by the pride of the Nexarian fleet. For a moment, everything was still. Then, energy readings began to spike from the black ship. Multiple weapons signatures detected. The weapons officer shouted, "There! They're targeting every ship in the fleet simultaneously." "How many weapons?" Zexra demanded. I can't tell, Admiral. The energy readings, they don't make sense. It's as if the entire ship is a weapon." Zexra felt a chill run through her body. The stories hadn't done them justice. Humans weren't just advanced. They operated on a level that made their most sophisticated technology look like children's toys. "Admiral," Yenli's voice was barely a whisper. "They're broadcasting." The command center fell silent as a signal cut through their communications network. It wasn't using any known protocol or encryption. It simply appeared on every screen, every console, as if the very computers themselves had decided to cooperate. A voice spoke, clear and cold as space itself. "Nexarian Command, this is the TSV Shadow of Terra. We have something to discuss. The ultimatum." Admiral Zexra felt the weight of history pressing down on her shoulders. The human vessel, the Shadow of Terra, hung in the void at the heart of her fleet, a black wound in space that threatened everything she thought she knew about her people's place in the galaxy. "Respond on all frequencies," she ordered, keeping her voice steady. "This is Admiral Zexra of the Nexarian Defense Command. You have entered sovereign Nexarian space without authorization. State your purpose." The response came instantly, the same cold voice filling the command center. "Your authorization is irrelevant. We have tracked a quantum signature to this system. You are harboring technology that does not belong to you." Zexra's 4 eyes blinked in confusion. "I don't understand. All our technology is of Nexarian origin." "False." The human voice carried no emotion, no anger, just absolute certainty. 17 days ago, your research facility in the Outer Ring activated a device recovered from Sector 117. The energy signature matches prohibited Class X technology. The command center fell silent. Sector 117 was classified at the highest levels. Even Zexra only knew it as a restricted research zone. But the humans somehow knew not only about its existence, but about specific experiments conducted there. "Admiral," Vexnor spoke up, his voice low. "The time frame matches the Horizon Project. But that's beyond top secret. How could they possibly?" "Because they were watching," Zexra realized. "They've always been watching." She turned back to the communications array. "What do you want?" "Surrender the device and all research data immediately. You have 30 minutes to comply." Krulf's appendages trembled as he worked his console. "Admiral, I'm detecting power fluctuations throughout their hull. The energy readings, they're beyond anything in our database. They're powering up their weapons," Vexnor translated. "But not just weapons. That ship, it's something else entirely." Zexra's mind raced. The Horizon Project was the Nexarian Collective's most ambitious research program. They had discovered the device in a dead zone of space, an artifact of impossible technology that promised to revolutionize their understanding of the universe. And now the humans wanted it. "Why?" she demanded. "Why is this device so important to you?" For the first time, something like emotion entered the human voice. "Because you don't understand what you're dealing with. The device you found isn't a tool. It's a key. And there are doors in this universe that should remain locked." The holographic display suddenly shifted, showing images that made Zexra's heart stop. Entire systems reduced to atomic dust, worlds torn apart from the inside, space itself warped and twisted into impossible geometries. This is what happens when Class X technology falls into unprepared hands. the human continued. "We've seen it before. We've fought it before. We won't allow it to happen again." "These images," Zexra whispered. "When did this happen?" "Before your species learned to make fire," came the reply. "Before we learned to make fire. The universe is old, Admiral, and some of its secrets are best left buried." Understanding dawned on Zexra. The humans weren't just advanced. They were guardians, watching, waiting, ensuring that younger races didn't repeat ancient mistakes. Their impossible technology, their terrifying capabilities, all of it served a purpose beyond mere military might. 25 minutes remaining, the human voice announced. "Choose wisely." Zexra turned to her crew, seeing the fear and uncertainty in their faces. Everything they believed about their place in the galaxy, about their technological superiority, had been shattered in less than an hour. "Admiral," Yenli called out, "the High Council is demanding we engage the human vessel. They're saying we cannot surrender the device. It's too valuable." "No," Vexnor interjected, his young voice carrying unexpected authority. "Look at these readings. That ship isn't just powerful, it's impossible. Every law of physics we know says it cannot exist. And yet here it is. If they say this device is dangerous, I believe them." Zexra studied the black ship one more time. Its very existence was a message. There were things in the universe far beyond their comprehension. And sometimes, wisdom meant knowing when to step back from the abyss. She opened a channel to the High Council. The choice. The High Council's reaction was predictable. Their voices filled the command center with outrage and indignation. 6 of the most powerful beings in Nexarian society unified in their refusal to surrender the device. "This is unacceptable." Councillor Vex's voice boomed through the speakers. "We are not some primitive species to be commanded by outsiders. The device is ours by right of discovery." Admiral Zexra watched the countdown timer tick away. 20 minutes remained. 20 minutes to convince her civilization's leaders to set aside generations of pride and technological ambition. "Honorable Council," she began, choosing her words carefully. "The humans have demonstrated technology far beyond our understanding. Their very presence here defies everything we thought we knew about physics. All the more reason to keep the device," another counselor interrupted. "If they possess such technology, we must catch up. Our civilization's future depends on it." The human ship remained motionless at the heart of their fleet, a silent reminder of the gulf between their civilizations. But something had been bothering Zexra since its arrival, a question that needed answering. "Shadow of Terra," she called out, "I request clarification." "Proceed," the cold voice replied. "You could have taken the device by force. Your ship's capabilities clearly exceed our entire defense fleet. Why give us a choice at all?" For several seconds, there was silence. When the human voice returned, it carried a different tone. Not warmer, exactly, but more human. "Because choice defines sentience," it said. "Every spacefaring race must eventually face this moment. The discovery that they are not alone, not supreme, not the pinnacle of evolution. How they handle that discovery determines much." The holographic display shifted again, showing new images. Earth, presumably, a blue-green jewel much like their own world. But as the images progressed, they showed conflict, destruction, advancement, and finally, "This was our first contact," the human continued. "We found a similar device. Like you, we thought it would elevate our civilization. Like you, we ignored the warnings. The images showed a catastrophe unfolding on Earth's moon. A massive facility, a flash of light, and then, reality itself seemed to tear apart. We contained it, barely. But the cost." The human's voice trailed off. "We learned that day that we were not ready. More importantly, we learned we weren't alone." New images appeared, showing other ships, similar to the Shadow of Terra, but clearly of different design. "The Guardians found us then, as we find you now. They gave us the same choice we give you, and we chose to listen." Zexra understood now. You became like them. Guardians. We became what was needed, the human corrected. There are things in this universe older than stars. Admiral. Powers that sleep in the spaces between galaxies. The device you found is not a tool for advancement. It is a beacon that draws their attention. The command center was silent, even the High Council seemingly stunned by these revelations. Vexnor worked his console, analyzing the images. Admiral, he said softly, these readings from their lunar catastrophe. They match exactly what we detected in our last test of the device. We were heading down the same path. 15 minutes remained. Zexra looked at her crew, at the faces of those who had witnessed humanity's true power and purpose. Then she looked at the council members, still clinging to their pride and ambition. Counselors, she said, her voice firm. I served the collective for 3 centuries. I've dedicated my life to protecting our people. And right now, my experience, my instincts, and all available evidence tell me we must listen. Not because we're weak, but because for the first time, we're truly ready to join something greater than ourselves. You would have us surrender our sovereignty, Counselor Vexith demanded. No, Zexra replied. I would have us prove we're wise enough to recognize when the price of pride is too high. She turned back to face the image of the shadow of Terra. Humanity walked this path before us. They faced this choice before us. And now they stand as guardians, protecting younger races from their own ambition. The question isn't whether we should surrender the device. The question is, are we ready to prove we deserve to know about it at all? The council chamber erupted in argument, but Zexra kept her eyes on the countdown. They had to choose, remain trapped in their pride and risk everything, or accept that there were greater powers and older truths in the universe than they had imagined. The fate of their civilization hung in the balance. The revelation. 10 minutes remained when the High Council reached their decision. The command center had fallen into a tense silence, broken only by the soft hum of equipment and the rhythmic beeping of the countdown timer. We will not surrender the device, Counselor Vexith announced, his voice hard with certainty. Admiral Zexra's heart sank, but before she could respond, the counselor continued. However, he said, his tone shifting, we request humanity's guidance in understanding it, not as conquered subjects, but as students willing to learn. The shadow of Terra remained silent for several long moments. Zexra held her breath, watching the black ship that had changed everything they thought they knew about their place in the universe. Finally, the human voice returned, and this time there was unmistakable approval in its tone. Request acknowledged and accepted. You have chosen wisely. The holographic display suddenly expanded, filling the command center with a 3-dimensional map of the galaxy. Points of light appeared, marking thousands of worlds, hundreds of civilizations. You are not the first to make this choice, the human explained, nor will you be the last. What you see before you is the Guardian Network, civilizations that have proven themselves ready to understand the true nature of our galaxy. Vexnor leaned forward, his young eyes wide with wonder. Each of these points, they're all like you, like humanity. No, the human replied. We are all different. Some focus on technology, others on biology, still others on dimensions we cannot fully comprehend. But we share a common purpose, to protect, to guide, and to prepare. Prepare for what? Zexra asked, though part of her already knew the answer. The galaxy map zoomed out, revealing dark spaces between the spiral arms. There are things stirring in the void. Admiral, ancient things. The devices, like the one you found, were left as warnings, as tests. Those who prove wise enough to heed the warning become part of the defense. The shadow of Terra's hull shifted, sections sliding apart to reveal glimpses of technology that made their most advanced systems look primitive. Your people have great potential, but potential must be tempered with wisdom. We offer you not just knowledge, but understanding. Not just power, but purpose. Counselor Vexith spoke again, his voice humbled. And if we accept this offer, what becomes of us? "You join us," the human said simply. "Not as servants, but as equals. Your unique perspectives, your technological innovations, your cultural insights all become part of humanity's greater mission. Together, we stand against the darkness between stars." The command center screens lit up with new information, historical records, technological specifications, biological data. But these weren't just files about humanity. They were about dozens of species, hundreds of civilizations, all part of something greater than themselves. "The device you found," the human continued, "is one key to understanding what awaits us. But it is dangerous until properly understood. We offer you the chance to understand it, to master it, and to join us in protecting others from its premature discovery." Admiral Zexera stepped forward, her decision made. "How do we begin?" The shadow of Terra's response was to transform. Its black hull became transparent, revealing corridors of light and chambers that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions at once. A door appeared, opening to reveal a human figure, the first any Nexarian had ever seen in person. "You begin," the human said, stepping into view, "by letting go of what you think you know, and embracing what you're ready to learn." The figure was tall, clothed in what appeared to be liquid darkness. Its face was hidden behind a mask that shifted like oil on water, but its voice was warm, almost familiar. "I am Captain Sarah Chen of the Terran Guardian Fleet," she said, her mask dissolving to reveal a smile. "And on behalf of humanity and the Guardian Network, I welcome the Nexarian people to a much larger universe." Zexera looked at her crew, at the council members, at the young Vexner, whose curiosity had helped them understand what they faced. They had started this day believing themselves near the peak of technological achievement. They would end it knowing they were just beginning. The Admiral stepped forward, all four eyes bright with determination. "We accept your welcome, Captain Chen, and we are ready to learn." As she spoke those words, the shadow of Terra's energy fields expanded, enveloping their ships in a gentle golden light. In that moment, the Nexarian people crossed a threshold. They were no longer alone in their journey among the stars. They had become part of humanity's greatest mission, guardians of a legacy older than stars, protectors of civilizations yet to rise, sentinels against horrors that slept in the void. The true adventure was just beginning.